So unlike the other members of Squad Zero, Shutara really doesn't have a whole lot to work with. If you read the manga, if you read 13 Blades, and even dive into stuff like Bleach Brave Souls, they don't shine a whole lot of information onto what Shutara can do, and that kind of makes sense because given all of the different roles of the different members of Squad Zero, Shutara's is probably the most mundane, for lack of a better term. You have Ichibei being given the authority of the Soul King, giving everything a name in the Bleach verse, and thus giving it power, is probably the most significant role of any of the members of Squad Zero. Oetsu creates the Zanpakuto, the primary weapon that like half of the cast uses in the series. Then Kiryu is creating new concepts and is creating artificial souls, which creates a whole new race of beings. People like Kon are created because of Kiryu, and then you have Korinji creating the healing arts, which again is not as significant as maybe some of the others, but it is still very important to the way that Shinigami fight. Then you have Shutara being the clothes lady, which is like infinitely less significant than the last four members and what they do and what they represent. However, I would like to think that there is some way to argue that Shutara is actually not complete gutter trash. I know I'm covering her last, and that implies that she's probably the weakest, which I do think consistently she is the weakest member of Squad Zero. But the little feats she does have, I was able to come up with a few arguments and a few interpretations for what we see to make her not so bad. Now, if you enjoy this type of content, I upload every Wednesday and Sunday, so consider giving this video a like to show your support and subscribing so you don't miss out on any of these uploads. Also, consider becoming a channel member as it gives you access to hidden content on the channel, like any debates and past live streams that I've uploaded. It also gives you access to hidden channels in the Discord if you decide to join that, but more on that at the end of the video. For now, let's talk about Shutara and how strong she is. Now, Shutara's main fight in the series is with Nyanzol, the Sternritter W, the Wind, who was casually reacting to Korinji, the same guy who's lightning speed Tenjiro and is blitzing Soifone, the fastest member of the Gote 13. And yet, despite the fact that Nyanzol's able to casually react to and weave Tenjiro's attacks, he's not able to even notice Shutara weaving clothes onto his body. Shutara is able to create and put this outfit on Nyanzol without him even noticing, and then it then just kills him, right? Which is very good. It does show that Shutara is able to casually kill just a Sternritter. We don't really know where Nyanzol fits in the hierarchy of Sternritter. You could maybe imply he's stronger than the other Sternritter that are still down in the Serite, because even though he wasn't chosen to be part of the Royal Guard, he was still chosen to be brought up to the Soul Palace. So if you want to imply that he is then stronger than the Sternritter that are left behind, I think that's a fine argument you can try to make. And it would still make Shutara look pretty good. And I do think this actually does give her some scaling to Korinji, which means if you argue Korinji being very powerful, then Shutara would kind of move up with him. But if you don't think Korinji is all that impressive, then Shutara kind of drags him down. The reason I say she somewhat scales to Korinji is because Nyanzol has the power to weave Korinji's attacks as well. It's not that he's just reacting to him, but he's also like moving the pawns and everything away from him, right? And Korinji is shown trying to attack Yuha, and then he always fails, meaning that Nyanzol is weaving those attacks. Despite that, Shutara is still able to kill Nyanzol with her clothes needles or whatever. There's also somewhat of a meme feed that is very hard for me to say this with a straight face, but when Renji goes to get his measurements taken by Shutara, Shutara mentions that like, hey, you need to strip down to the bare bones, like you can't be wearing any clothes at all. Renji is like, well, I want to wear clothes, like I want to wear at least a loincloth so my wiener's not hanging out, right? And Shutara's like, oh, I'll just cut off your wiener then, and then it's not going to be a problem. You can just not wear a loincloth. Renji obviously is like, oh no, that's fine, you don't have to do that, which does mean that Shutara can cut off one of Renji's body parts, meaning she does scale to him in terms of power. If that's the way that you want to argue that, go ahead, I'm not going to stop you. Because obviously Renji wouldn't want to lose his wiener, right? He would want to keep that. So he would raise his spiritual pressure, but he just thinks that it's a possibility that she could just lop it off. So he's like, no, please don't do that. I'll completely strip. So if you want to make that argument and be like, dude, she scales to Renji, who's like kind of a rival to True Shikai Ichigo. Shutara is mad powerful, although that would be kind of consistent because I think the Zero Division as a whole still scales somewhat to True Shikai Ichigo. I don't think that's too absurd if you wanted to go that route. But aside from that, there's maybe a weird argument you can make for her being a rival to Mayuri using the entry from 13 Blades. Because if you look at 13 Blades, there's a lot of talk about like Mayuri wanting to kill Shutara or like fight her, but Shutara and like the narrator refer to them as like friends or rivals. So if you want to say that they rival each other because of some way that you interpreted 13 Blades, and that'd be pretty good for Shutara since Mayuri is able to almost beat Pernida by himself. And even if he wasn't able to almost beat Pernida by himself, he's still scrapping with Pernida post Ashwallen. It's just very weird narratively because the Zero Division lost to the post Ashwallen Royal Guard, yet Mayuri is able to fight post Ashwallen Pernida, but then that would also mean that Shutara then scales to somebody that then beat them earlier. Like, it would seem a little bit weird, but I'm sure you can make it work. The pieces are all there for the puzzle. And unfortunately, that's really all there is to Shutara's strength, and I guess her speed as well, because her blitzing neons was kind of the only speed that she needed. As far as abilities go, I mean, yeah, she can weave clothes. She made the armor that Ichigo's wearing. It's like some super high dense reishi armor that like allows him to dive down to the Serite and get past all of like these Soul Palace's weird reishi tearing apart barriers. So it's not like that she just makes clothes, she makes like clothes. Like she makes the ultimate drip that is going to keep you protected in the final battle. So they're not just no schmuck clothes. There are these guys that she's able to summon that can kind of fight with her. So she has summons that are not very strong though, because Neon's will just like pokes one of them and kills him. And then she summons the big guy, and that gets destroyed by Pernida, so it's like, we don't really get to see what her people are capable of, but she can summon people if that makes her, like, any better to you. But yeah, after that, that's really all that she's got. She doesn't really have anything else outside of that, so I'd actually really love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below, because Shutara is a very weird character to talk about from a power scaling perspective. So this will probably be a video where I actually go down and start talking with you guys in the comments down below. I usually try to not do that, because like if someone leaves a nice comment and I reply to it, then I'm worried people are gonna like dogpile on it, because they'll be like, ah, oh, Bleach Hub commented right there, let's get this guy's comment. I'm like, I try not to do that. I don't want someone to be like if someone's just saying, oh, I really like this video, this is great, I'm like, yeah, thanks, man, and then everybody dogpiles him or whatever. I don't like seeing that, but I'm gonna be down in the comments trying to discuss things with people, so, you know, leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and maybe we can, you know, have a nice discussion about Shutara, who I think is probably the weakest member of Squad Zero. Although if you want to have a more in-depth or personal discussion, you can come into my Discord, which is linked down in the description below. But as always, leave a like and subscribe, click that join button to become a channel member if you want to support the channel further. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace. Late, guys. She's also able to create or summon these weird like black dudes, like actual black people.